somebody gives me a little ticket and I'm like away again. And
So somebody gives you a ticket.
yeah, I'm away again.
Somebody, let's just break that down.
Okay.
Somebody gives you a ticket. Let's break it down. Let's have a little look.
Okay.
Let's unpick that. Somebody gives you a ticket. Can they give you a ticket?
Well, it seems like it.
Okay, so the experience is somebody's giving you a ticket.
Yeah, the experience is somebody's giving me a ticket.
What would that be? Is that real? You know, it's like, let's just peel back all the labels and have a really fresh look. Somebody's giving you a ticket, or you could say somebody's giving me a ticket. How could they, in reality, how could they get, they're not, you know, it seems like impossible for somebody to give you a ticket. I know there's an experience of somebody's gift, but there's something happening, and there is so something is happening. So something is happening in awareness. You're aware that something is happening. And then there's a story about somebody is doing this to me.
But I'm accepting it, but yeah, that's exactly it. Somebody's doing this to me, yeah. Let's go with that.
I mean, are they doing it to you?
Yeah.
That's the experience. They're doing that to you. That's the
experience, yeah.
Are they actually, is that true? Are they actually doing something to you? Or are you choosing? Because I mean, you can look at, okay, who are they doing it to? Where are they? Who is that? Obviously the character. It's about identification, isn't it? So there's a personalized experience, yeah. Nobody's denying that. But there is awareness is limiting itself and having so there's an identification with that experience.
Yeah.
So it's the identification is the key, because there's just an experience of limitation, and then there is a taking ownership of that. But actually, what you are is formless awareness, is being. So when I say formless awareness and when I say being, they're words, they're concepts. And it's impossible for me to talk about what you are without me giving you a word. But what's important to see is not to just accept that word and go, oh, just being. It's to actually look. Because what's actually here doesn't have an identity. What's actually looking through your eyes doesn't have an identity. It's capable of having an experience of identity, of having an experience of a individual. So it can identify. It can just play that game of identifying as an individual, but it's not changed. What's looking through your eyes is, and I'm going to say awareness. I'm going to say impersonal. I'm going to say all those things. But it's for you to go to the experience of what I'm pointing to, what the finger's pointing to, not just pick up the word and go accept. So there's something. So maybe I just put less words on it. There's something that we all are.
Yeah.
And I just get nothing when I sit there, unless I label it space or awareness, or so it's to go to that I'm pointing to, not the actual label. That's what's always there. Awareness, presence. It's always there, yeah?
Yeah.
That can have an experience of an individual. And we all know that. We've always experienced being an individual. But it's only if you identify with it, only if you pick up, I'm that, not this. Can you see this limits itself? This is just is. This is awareness is an easy label because we're all aware, and we've all got this sense that we exist because it's always here. That's always here. gets personalized. We identify with it, with the name, with your sound going.
Man. Sorry, Colette, my volume's gone again. It's like mental. It's like,
so these are all, there's just experiences happening.
Yeah.
That's just how life can dance. And we can, you know, even to say we is tricky because I'm already collapsing it down into a story. You know, who's taking the tickets? Who's doing something to you? What is that you that we're pointing at? What actually is it? This you, this, we say being.
Oh, sorry, this would drive you.
You can watch it afterwards. Don't worry, Dan. You'll be able to catch the thing.
Yeah. Well, if I wasn't mad already, it's a good job I'm mad already, because otherwise this would drive me mad.
You can't be any more mad.
I can't be any more mad.
That's being mad. Let's just point to that. Who's being mad? Who is it? You know, so it's look. I'm asking you a question. It's a look.
Yeah.
Actually, who is that one? And it's not to put awareness stamp on it. It's to actually look. Who is that one that's mad? So mad that it can't even get any more mad. Who is that one? Can you find somebody without going to a concept? Direct experience without going to your mind. So I can see going up to your head to get an understanding. It's your direct experience is what's actually here. Just this. I know you're struggling with your thing, so don't worry, we can. You're escaping my clutches.
Just keep doing it.
You're escaping my inquiry.
It's like, oh my God, it's like.
That's all right, don't worry. So I'll let you escape. Don't worry, I'll be coming back for you. I'll be coming back round. So
no, I get it, anyway. I get it. I understand it all. I just can't sustain it. My characters can't sustain it for long.
No, but the character's not sustaining it. The character's not real. Character is a story. The experience just is always now this. Maybe limiting and having an experience of separation, but it's just identifying with that character having an experience of, you know, it's the label put on that experience. Put on, there's a me, I, my. You know, that's a label, my, me. What is that label pointing to? Nothing. It's a label that we've identified with. It's language. What is the word my? When we start looking at things, they don't really hold up. We give so much weight to this I. Where's this I when we look? We just can't find anything. But that thing that has no name, that has no that we can't pin anything down on, can appear as all of this. You know, life. Let's say life. Life can appear as all of this, and it can appear as a separate person with a body mind. But it's just that you don't identify with it. That's the secret. You just don't identify. You stay as this. So there's this, there's life, and life is having an experience of separation. But you just don't identify with it. It's just that. It's just identification. Are you fighting with your thing again? So it's sort of slightly fascinating. It's all about identity. It's all about identity.
Very cool. I'm missing at least half of that. This is just ridiculous, this thing.
That's all right. You'll be able to watch it back, so don't worry.
Well, I did try. I thought I had. But it's just keeps doing it.
Don't worry. I'm going to put you on mute.
Yeah.
And you can watch the recording, because I'm just going to go into is everybody, I'm just going to mute you, Ollie, not because I don't love you, just because in case there's a loud noise or something. Yeah, so it's this identification. It's sort of fascinating. I have no idea what I'm going to say. So there's these experiences that we're having, it's just because we identify with them. And then we can look and think, well, actually, what's actually here? Prior to the idea of identification, we do sort of have to put labels on it, but that limits it in a way, because it's prior to all of this. It's what gives birth to all of this. So if something's giving birth to all of this, it's to look at, okay, so what's giving birth? And what's giving birth doesn't have a name, it's not something we can pin down. It's got, so I put No Fixed Abode was the title for today. The undefining nature of reality. You can't define it. Reality can't be defined. That's why I'm sort of saying look beyond the labels or what we're pointing at. We can't actually be more. We can't be more. Or we can, how we sort of say, oh, I just want to, want to be more in presence. We are presence. So we can't be any more in presence. It's just an experience that we identify with. Can't be any more in presence. And it's these words that we say. I want to get back to presence. I want to be more present. But we are presence. So it's an experience that's being had, and we just identify with it. And so that's why I want to be more in presence. Life just is naturally present. It's not more or less presence. It just is. But there definitely is an experience of coming back to presence along this journey of awakening. Hold on, I need to wake up and be more present. This is what we say, but we're just identifying with this story. So you could say there's an experience of coming back to presence. That's all it is. There's actually no person coming back to presence. There's an experience of coming back to presence, but it's only if we identify it becomes I'm coming back to presence. I leave presence. All these things are experiences, but as soon as we identify them, then there's an I there. Identify with them. It's really key thing that we're just adding identification to whatever's happening. And so it becomes my experience. And when we look at this label my, that was just something we were taught. Because the absolute is attributeless. In order to create an experience, that it's just its nature, it can, because so it can create. It's the creator, it's life, giving birth to all of this, and we are that life. Can you see if we just walk back to the origin, to what's giving birth to all of this? We are that's giving birth to all of this, and we have the capacity to experience separation, unity, all of this. A body, mind, we can experience all of that. It's just the only sticky bit is when we identify with it. We forget that we're attributeless awareness having an experience. So, but it's always there when we look. When we use that I am pointer, who am I? I am. And then there's the story of the character. Who's the one that's experiencing? I've lost it, I've got it. I had awakening, or I haven't woken up yet. This is this. Can you see how this is all conceptual ideas on just this? No thing. So all of that is fine. All of that is dancing. The only sticky bit is when we say I, me, my. I'm having an experience, when we identify with it, can we see that what is actually identifying with it? So it's like a step back. What's identifying? What is that prior to identification? There's something there that's always watching the whole play, the whole story, the whole thing. There's something there that's looking through all of our eyes that's not identified, that can't be identified, but it can play a game. It can create a story, an experience, and that's all absolutely fine, because who has a problem with that? The character has a problem with being asleep. Why I want to wake up, or I don't like this life, or this is suffering. That's the character. But all along, you're just sitting here crystal clear, untouched. And so that's all it is, to see that actually there's something that's just abiding, awake, alertness. It's always here. It's not touched by the story of the character in the story. And you are touched if you identify with it. And that's obviously just how life can create. You know, you can believe you're separate, and you can wake up and see that you're not. But it's always there to see, you know, who am I? I am the story, the character in the story, or without going to a body mind, that so only to direct experience of just this, just being, before labels and concepts. We're still adding words, but you know, strip right back. What's here? What's looking through your eyes? I am. Without the story, direct experience, there's no words. I am. And we, you know, we try and label that. We try and pin it down to be able to talk about it. You know, the Tao is the Tao which is known is not the Tao. So, you know, as soon as we put words on just this silence that's there when we ask, who am I? As soon as we start to label that, it's not it's not it anymore, because we've added to it, and it's a concept, an idea. So it's to feel into the non-conceptual awareness beyond, you know, prior to the labels, to just what we're pointing, you know. The Tao is the informing principle. Any words we use to describe it are only signposts pointing to the truth. They are not the truth itself. Hence, the Tao that can't be told is not the eternal Tao. Sorry, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. You know, but it's prior to what it gives birth to. So we're at that point of creation. I don't know if you feel into that. We're at that point of creation. It's like a tipping point of no thing becoming everything. There's just it's almost like you're on a ledge, and it's like it's it just can't be. So hard to talk about it. You know, we really get down to the nitty-gritty of it. It's just that alert awakeness that's looking through your eyes prior to the label awareness, impersonal awareness, attributeless awareness. These are all pointers. What is it pointing to? What's the direct experience that these pointers are pointing to? Let's not be satisfied with the labels. Let's really get down to the truth of what's actually here. Let's not trade concepts. Let's feel for the truth. Let's recognize the truth of what's actually here. Over and over again until it can't be denied. You know, we can't fall asleep to the game. We can't identify. And it's interesting on this journey of you know, recognizing your true nature. And then this maturing that seems to happen in the story, in this world of experience. All sorts of, any answer is not just an idea. We seem to, in this waking up, we seem to give ourselves some little stepping stones. So, there's this waking up, recognizing your true nature stepping stone. So that almost becomes our identity, that we've woken up. So we sort of recognize that we're not the character in the game, that we've woken up, and that almost reorientates ourselves to a stepping stone of we've woken up. We've seen through it. There's almost another little identification stepping stone there. Then there's almost the next stepping stone, and that one dissolves, and the next stepping stone is oh, so I'm not just the witness of life, because that's a little bit removed from life. You recognize as it matures that you're and I've spoken about this before, you're not just the witnesser. You're the space in the room and everything that appears in the room. So you've got another little stepping stone that's easy to identify. So you're the awareness of everything. Not just the witness, the awareness, the spacious awareness, being. We even orientate ourselves around this idea of being. We feel into being, but it's so easy to then stick that label. Oh, so I'm being then. And all of this is wrong, because it is this sort of maturing of it. And the other week I was sharing that there is not two places, because it tends to be on the journey, is that, oh, I've woken up and that's the ego and this isn't my true self. And I don't like it when I become the ego, but I like it when I'm a true self. And I tried to point out there's not two places. There is only this life experiencing both. So it's the same thing experiencing both. So we never become the ego. Ego is just identification with the character, with the body mind. Identification with the body mind, the one that feels like it's experiencing. And that's just how life gets to experience it, but we're identifying with that experience, whereas we can just see, the experience is fine because it's only ever this, what we are experiencing. So that's why there's no two positions. But it does seem like we keep reorientating ourselves for a little while, walking home, the next stepping stone. What seems to have happened for me just recently is there's no stepping stones. Everything's fallen away. Is no stepping stones a stone? We just, as soon as we speak about anything, we start putting labels on, don't we? So there's it tends to be points of view that we have, the witness point of view, the I'm everything point of view. Still seems to be these sort of points of view. And what seems to be happening now is that everything's blended together. And I just thought I'd share it with you because nobody talks about this. You don't know what it is till you see it. So that's why I called it the no fixed abode. I can't find where I am now. So it seems as if everything, that experience is, there's no apart from anything. So the experience of separation is playing out. The experience of unity consciousness is playing out. The experience of seeing all you there are all playing out. But there's no position that I can view it from. It's seamless. Before it felt like there was some sort of position. It's all happening in awareness. Now I can't pin awareness down anymore. It's really subtle. It's very, very seamless. It's all there. So and it's quite tricky to talk about. There's nothing to pin down. So I can't pin down awareness, can't pin down. It's all happening. I can see it happening. I can see separation. I can see. It's just nobody that it's happening to. Nobody that it's happening to anymore. There's no identification with any of it. That's what it is. There's no identification with any of it. Awareness being. Attribute awareness. And you know, there's a spaciousness to it, but you almost just can't pin anything down on it. There's nothing, there's no labels to pin on it. There's no place where I can say this is what it's like, because it's everything and nothing at the same time. And it's so fluid, there's no resting point. So there's nothing that you can pin down. So I guess it is a bit like that, you know, the Tao that can't be talked about, which is known, is not the Tao. It feels a bit like that. All the stepping stones have gone. You know, everything is a limitation on. It's even hard to say that. It's like there's not, you know, you can sort of pin down separation when you're walking home because you've experienced separation. Don't want that. I want this. I want this open space of being. Yes, this is nice. I love that. And I really don't want separation. I can't find any of them anymore. So there isn't, it's just, it's you know how we talk about, and I think you've probably all had that sense of just in this moment. We're just here. There's this crystal clear moment of just now. And to go to a future, it's like a ghost. And to go because we've got to create it, and go to a past, it's like a ghost because we've got to create it. Well, it all feels like that now. And to the mind, doesn't sound very nice. But it's there's nothing to pin down. There's nothing to pin down. I could very much enter that separation. We don't like that. I don't want that one. Thank you very much. And now I can't find that. So I guess there was you're able to sort of remember it and recreate it. And then it was like, oh, let's go to being. I can't find that either. I can't go anywhere. I can't go to being anymore. There was that experience of, okay, let's all just go to being. We are being, but we're going to being more, you know, and talk you into it. And there's the dropping down and the opening up, and then you feels more in being. I can't find that anymore. Can't find. It's like being's already here. How can I get any more being? Because there is only being. So where would I go to go from being to get more being? I don't know whether any of this is making sense. Yes, it's very much like there was two positions, and there's a recognition that, oh, there's not two things. There's not that life that I used to have, and now I can witness it. And sometimes I get pulled into it. So the recognition that actually that isn't happening because it's only ever this doing that. Okay, you've still got this position, which is, oh, I'm going to rest in being. And I think it's all very valid on this walk home. And I actually picked something up by Adyashanti just before the call. Awareness is always there, but it doesn't do much good until you bring consciousness to it. So obviously it's always there, but unless you recognize it, you miss it because you're pulled into that, you know, the experience of identifying with separation, with the play. So awareness is always there, but it doesn't do much good until you bring consciousness to it, even for brief moments. Don't be too concerned with how long you can sustain it. It's more important how often you check in. if you keep checking in, the sustaining of it happens on its own. And I would guess that's probably what's happened to me. That the sustaining of, so I used to say, let's have a look what's happening. And I would always look for awareness. Oh, there it is, as if I'd found it again. Now that it's always there. It's like I don't know how to get to it anymore, because it's like how to get home when you're already home. Well, I don't need to go anywhere to get home. I'm already home. So there's no positions, there's no stepping stones, there's no this is where I am and I'm going to go there. There's just this. And it's hard to talk about because it's just this. There's another thing by Adyashanti, the gift of not knowing. Right now, you can all allow yourself to experience a very simple sense of not knowing. You know, I always use that. I know absolutely nothing, and just rest with that. Not knowing what or who you are, not knowing what this moment is, not knowing anything. If you can give yourself this gift of not knowing and follow it, a vast spaciousness and mysterious openness dawns within you. Relaxing into not knowing is almost like surrendering into a big, comfortable chair. You just fall into a field of possibility. I mean, he's doing a really good job of describing it. This spontaneous moment, field of possibility, he called it. This field of possibility, what we are is prior to that. So it's like you're resting in that prior to manifestation. You're resting in this field of possibilities. But it's all around you. It's not like I'm in a position of resting in the field of possibilities. There's no separation. So there's just the field of possibilities. There's nobody in it. There's just the field of possibilities. You're not separate from the field of possibilities. So he says it opens up and dawns within you. That's what it feels like, because there's no separate, it's all within you. And then and then there's no boundary. So it's all with, everything is already here. There's nobody getting anything. It's already here. And it's only when it's the identification is the key. Identifying with any of those stepping stones just keeps it slightly something to pin down. You know, oh yes, I'm experiencing awareness. Oh, that's delicious. I've dropped the separate self. I'm experiencing awareness. That all dissolves and there is only awareness. There's not going to awareness. There's just awareness. There's no movement. Before there was some sort of idea that you could go to being, or let's all just now rest in being. That just doesn't work here, because there is being, there is only being. So it's as if any of the going to, any idea of somebody going to get anything has completely gone. There is just everything and nothing. Field of possibilities, like he says, there's nothing here, yet there's everything. And it's like, it's so alive that anything is possible, because it's all here waiting. Waiting isn't quite right, but it's all available. So there's nobody going to being, there's nobody going to awareness, because it's already here. And I think it's just because there's no identity anymore. There's nobody identifying with going to being. So there's nobody going anywhere. There's just being. There's just pure potential to experience. but there's no identification with any of the experiences. So experiences can happen, but there's nobody that gets pulled in, because nobody that gets pulled in, because there's no identity with the one that would be being pulled in. So there's no identity with anybody who's limiting themselves and having an experience of separation. So it's all down to identity. And it was something David said to me. No, he didn't say it to me, actually. He said in the week, I think I watched an old Conscious TV video of his. I think it's the most popular one he has on there. And it's one where Renata McNay talks about her awakening through David, through just a conversation in the garden. And there was something in it. I took a few notes because I was like, oh, there's really something in that. I might have a little look. And then I did a video inspired on the notes that I took. Let's see if I can pull any things from it. Here we go. Oh, it's not exactly. Right, so many things. It's so subtle because I'm looking at this. Some notes I wrote a while ago, and it's saying just stay with the pure awareness of being, and that doesn't even make sense to me now, to stay there. I mean, I understand it's a stepping stone. You know, there's no concept of not being able to stay, because you can't leave it, because it's all, because there's nothing other than it. So it would just be the identification with the one that could leave it. Can you see? It's all down to identification. We'd just think that there was somebody who could leave it and somebody who could rest more in it. So it's still that identification. See if I can find the right one. So, yeah, I don't want to be, you know, if there's an experience that you go to being, that's not denying that experience. It's just I'm just offering you that you could potentially see that there's nobody going to being. There's an experience of it, but it's only us going to being if we identify with it. David, you look like you've woken up. You look really bright-eyed. I can't find this. Oh, here it might be. Yeah, so there were some notes from self-realization. This is David's words. These are David's words. Self-realization is loss of identification with individuality. So self-realization is the loss of identification with individuality. So there's still an experience of individuality, yeah, not denying that. But it's the identification with it that's the sticky thing. The experience of individuality is fine. Nothing wrong with it. It's how this can dance, but it's the identification that's the key. We identify, I'm experiencing separation. You know, I know he says to use impersonal language. You can see why, because it's all down to identification. Where are we sticking a pin in and saying, I'm having that experience? So if you feel in to where you are now, What's your pin? What are you pinning? What are you identifying with? What are you, what are you sticking the pin in to? What are we orientating ourselves to and sticking a pin in and going, yeah, that's me, I'm there. Because that's just where we're identifying. And it's just to see that we can just pull the pin out. We can just pull the pin out. All of it is allowed. Nothing wrong with any of it. It's just how this can dance. It's, this mysterious life can just create all of this. And we are that. We are we are creating it all. We are that can't be named, that can't be pinned down. We're that. We can't be pinned. What we are can't be pinned. And that can't be named can shape and form all of this, and then create labels and create a world of separation of subject object. But it's just to see that we're the prior to it all. So it's that what's actually there, what's looking through your eyes without a label on it. So don't label it. What's actually there? What's your experience without the labels? What's your direct experience without the mind labeling it? What's that? And it's not to get an answer, and it's not to make a story about the answer. It's just to be with the direct experience of what's there when we don't label. Your direct sense of being. If we then peel away being, your direct sense, just this. So it's to feel into what we're pointing to, not to feel into just this. It's like the label falls away, the pin drops out, and what's left? What we do is we put lots of labels on this that can't be labeled to talk about it. We're an open space of being, formless awareness, having an experience of form. And they're David's words as well. Open space of being. Formless awareness, having an experience of form. So it's to feel into what are those words pointing to. Don't just settle for the words. Space of being. Can't not be. And what we can't be, can't not be. So we're just being. There's being. And when we look, there's no form. So there's formless, there's just being, and it doesn't have a form. It's to feel into what that points to. And we know that it can have an experience of form, can have an experience of separation, but what it actually is isn't identifiable, we're not able to pin it down. So I'm pointing to that space, pointing to that depth. Again, it's a word. So you've got to look beyond the word. Yeah, I've got here, it's it's, we start to cling to things to try and have an identity. We cling to it to reorientate this identity. But actually what we are is not identifiable. So there's still the ability to experience individuality. There's ability to experience beings. There's ability to do all of that, but we're none of that. That's the important key. We're none of it. We can experience it all, but we're none of it. We never become any of it. Like David says, you never become any of it. And I think what we do is we stick a pin in and identify with anything we feel is a better one, a better version. I'll have that one. That one's nice. Spaciousness. That one's nice. I'll have that. But it's actually to look at what that word spaciousness is pointing to, and that can't be pinned. That's got to be directly experienced, and it can't be stamped by the mind and moved on. It's to be fully recognized that what you are cannot be pinned down. You know what your name was put on, just there, and your parents labeled, and then you that's what happened to me. I was like, can't believe that, and I believe them. You know, and then that's just your identification. You can never be the individual. It was just an experience. I think that was another one of David's, because I highlighted all his words. We've never been the individual. It was just an experience. That cannot be named. It has the capacity to experience, but it never becomes it. So it never sticks a pin in, never becomes anything, just has an experience of it all. So I wrote this one. Our sense of self is actually impersonal. It just got mistakenly believed to be personal through invitation into individuality. So we're invited into individuality. That's how it experiences, by the environment, by how all of this is shaping and dancing, but we never actually become that individual. It's just an experience. It's just when we identify, we stick a pin in, I am that. Given a name, and we stick a pin in it. I'm Colette. It's just that as soon as we try and pin anything down, we identify with it, and that becomes our experience, because this is how this no thing can experience something. But actually, we don't need to pin it down. We can experience it freely and see that we never become it. So just however it's dancing, we don't become it, but we can experience it. We never stick a pin in it. We never become it. We can't. And the whole thing then is just this fluid motion, this alert, awake, pure potential to dance, to experience, but never ever become the experience. Just can experience. So there was a message, how to train the body into higher vibrations. I know you came in a bit late, Goldie, so you might miss where I am. We've gone way beyond any training, anything, into higher vibrations. So the stepping stones I spoke about earlier in the, I would point to those in the talk if you get a chance to watch it back. We talked about stepping stones home and how we sort of reorientate ourselves. We feel like we're lost in the world and this doesn't feel nice, but we know there's something else. And there's a stepping stone of maybe the seeker, I'm waking up. We've maybe had some experiences. So we're in the stepping stone of I'm waking up. So we put a little pin in it. I'm waking up now. I'm a seeker and I'm waking up, or however it's, it's unfolded for you. And then there's another stepping stone of getting all the knowledge, but not quite seeing it. And then there's some point, there's some word, some readiness to see through this, to be the witnesser of it all. It's a little stepping stone that we stand on. Oh, I'm watching it all. Oh, I can see my thoughts coming and going now. Not all the time, but I can see. So there's this identity with the one that's experiencing that. But I think if we don't actually identify with it, there's an experience of, just like David says, it always rings true, whatever he says. So if we take away the identity out of that experience, there's an experience of falling asleep and waking up. There's an experience of somebody walking home. That is all absolutely true. It's only if I'm walking home, I'm waking up, that it gets sticky, that it becomes a limited experience, becomes, just a limitation on the pure potential. So the potential is limited, having a limited experience now because we've identified with the one that's waking up. But if there's an awareness of waking up, so there's an experience, there's awareness of waking up, that's it. There's no I in there. There's no individual. There's just the recognition. There's an experience of waking up. There's an experience of, the thought, how to train the body into a higher vibration. So what's happening there? How to train the body into. So there's somebody believing that that they need to train their body into a higher vibration. So that is just a pin. That is just a pin in that experience. I need to train the body into a higher vibration. Can you see how we just pop a pin in it? We create that experience. So you could say, instead of I want to know how to train the body into higher experience, there's an awareness of the thought of needing to train the body into higher vibration. And actually, we're not. The body is a vehicle. The body is an experience that can't be pinned down. I'm going to stick with this. Is having. Formless awareness is having. Attributeless awareness is having. So can you see, if we invest in trying to train the body into a high vibration, you're just sticking a pin in it and experiencing that. Do we get that? Yeah. We're literally creating that experience. There's nothing wrong with it if that's what you want to experience, because you are your pure potential to dance. So that's what you're sticking your pin in. Nothing wrong with it at all. That's just how this can dance. But I'm just saying, actually, what is actually here? And there is this apparent walking home. We have all these experiences, but if we don't put a pin in any of those experiences, then there's this chance to say, oh, it's actually all here now, all of it. The experience of a body. But there is nobody we can pin down who's experiencing this body. But there is an experience of a body. There's an experience of this voice that's got a label called Colette. It's all experience. But I can't find anybody that's experienced. There's no pin in that. It's an experience. Absolutely fine. There's no pin in it. There's no identification. I have no idea where I've lost you all. It's just what's happening. So I just wanted to share it to give everybody the chance. I can understand there's no need to create the feeling of love and gratitude because it's already here. Brilliant. Yeah. Yes. So all we'd be doing is brilliant. All we would be doing is pinning in an identity of somebody needing to create the feeling of love and gratitude. That's all it would be. It's a potential to experience. That's all that is. It's brilliant. So everything is already here. It's already available because this is, like Ajay says, the field of possibility. I call it, there's just pure potential to create right here, right now. So we can create that, somebody needing to, you know, and maybe that's a lovely thing to create. You know, the feeling of love, you know, that's how this can play. But like, where do you want to put your pin? Where do you want to identify with? That's it. All of it will dance. Separation, unity consciousness, it's all going to dance. It's all there. It's all available because we're in the field of possibilities. It's just where you put your, where you identify. And it seems as though there's a point where you just can't identify. Like he said in one of these other things, if you stay there long enough with awareness, it happens all on its own. There is only awareness. You don't go to awareness. You don't see awareness. You don't check out awareness. There is only awareness. There's no going to anywhere. There's no getting anything. There's no becoming. You know how we think we're going to wake up. That's just a pin in that because we're already awake. There'll be an experience of not, but it's only if we pin it, if we pin that down, we put an I on that we identify with it, and that's our experience we have. And then the mind's going to offer up, well, am I just lying to myself if I don't put a pin in that when that's what I'm experiencing? But it's just this what I am experiencing. It's just identification. Individuality is experienced, just don't put a pin in it. Unity consciousness is experience, we just don't pin anything down. Because it's just our imagination that's pinning it down and having that experience. Unless you want to have an experience of separation, unless you want to have it, that's it. I mean, you've got the choice. You can, how deep do you want to play? And I think that's, you know, that's like the starting point of the game when you roll the dice. This is the, you know, this is how we can shape and pattern an experience. And because we are told we're an individual, that's where the pin goes. You're given a name and you're taught that the experience is that you're taught that is who you are. This name is who you are. And then anything that happens to that name is where the pin's gone. And there's a story of this pin with the name on it. It's a story of this label. And it's just, let's just take the pin out. What's left when we take the pin out? The mind might be throwing up all sorts of scary stuff. I know Mum wanted to today. It was like, well, if there's nowhere, surely that's scary. I was just not having it because there's no other place to go. And of course, it didn't like that either because it's like, well, you've got nowhere to go. You know, it wanted to offer that up. But it seems ridiculous here. So yeah, I'm happy to open it up if anybody wants to share, or you know, if they didn't get it and they want me to try and explain more, or they want to share what's happening for them. The stepping stones are valid. It's an experience that we can have. There's not like, say, you get the choice. You know, I did all the stepping stones. I stuck my pin in all of them. And that's when we feel like we had the experience of walking home. like you're sort of swimming in this. There is only this, and you're swimming in this, and it contains everything. So I can talk about opening up the focus and resting back, and dropping down, and going to the ground of being. We can experience that. Nothing wrong with that, dropping down, opening up, using the vehicles that we've got to experience this, all of this. The ground of being is restful compared to the ever-changing. So yeah, why not rest there? Stick a pin in there. Just being, just exploring being. That's what I did. The experience of just exploring being. I'm using that I. I was able to have some sort of idea that I was the one experiencing being. It's delicious, nothing wrong with it. But you just get to realize there was no pin, there was no I. It was just an experience this has that's unpinnable. Because that shape that we believe ourselves to be can't be found anymore. It can be experienced, but it's not identified with. So the body shape can be experienced, but there's no identification with it. There's no pin in it, my body. There's an experience of a body. There's an experience of a Colette. There's an experience of life experiencing. But it's just more apparent that there is no experiencer. There's no individual, there's no pin in that experiencer. There's just experience. Experiencing. It's like it's just life waiting to happen. Not like it's not happening, it's just on the edge constantly of happening. Pure potential over and over and over again. Every single, can't even break it down. It's like it's refresh. Now. It's like refreshing itself because it's just pure potential. It's like a spark of pure potential over and over again, constantly refreshing. It's just this, like pure potential, just this. There's a spark of just this ready to dance. And it can be walking the dog. That's the experience we have. But we have the potential to see that it's just experience. There isn't an individual walking the dog. But there is an experience of it. So you still get to enjoy it. Still get to experience. And it's not weird. It's completely normal because it's what's always been looking through our eyes. It's just we've been orientating it. We've been sort of collapsing it down into an I that's doing it all. And actually that opening up that there is no I doing any of it. There is just this shaping and patterning and forming and experiencing. Never ever becomes anything other than just this. But it has an experience of all of that. Walking the dog, going out to dinner, having fun. Doesn't seem to be suffering. I think that only comes with an individual, with the identity. Suffering only becomes because you need somebody to be suffering. If you can't put a pin into somebody that's suffering. So it really is this no thing and everything all at one go. This sea of nothing, but with the potential for it to be, everything is already there. It's not like to become. There's no becoming. It's all here. Field of possibilities, I think he called it. Yeah. You just fall into the field of possibility. It's, it's life. The field of possibility is life. Pure potential to create experiences. There's actually no individuals. There's experience of individuals, but there are no individuals. Because it's just this one source that's shaping and patterning and having those experiences. But you can have an experience of individuality. So you can experience others like we are on this call. It's like you can experience others. It's this one thing experiencing. So there are actually no others. It's just the experience that the field of possibilities gets to have. It's all one experience. There's only one thing experiencing. It's experiencing. It's really hard to chop anything up now. I'm wanting to sort of go, well, you're experiencing one thing and you're experiencing, but it doesn't feel true anymore for me to try and tell that story. It's an experience, yes, but it's not true. You're not individuals experiencing, yeah. No pins in you. You're just this one thing experiencing, shaping and patterning and experiencing, but there's no individuals experiencing. There is one experience. It's really, you can't pin it down. There's only one experience. Can't chop it up. A bit like the sea. You can't chop the sea up. You can't, I'll just divide the sea there. It just fills back in again. It feels like that. There's no one experience. Sorry, there's only this one experience. There's not individual experiences. It's appearing like that, As if we put bottles in the ocean. So we've divided it up with these bottles, but actually it's still all the ocean. Or like the waves, they're appearing and falling, but there's one ocean experiencing. That's what it is. There's one ocean experiencing. It's the same one experience. It's this one ocean experiencing. It's one entire experience. That's why it's like the field of possibilities, because it's all the experiences all in one go. Because they're not chopped up, they're not divided. It appears like that. That's the experience. And if you just stick a pin in and say, well, my experience, bang, you've got a pin. You've pinned it down, and that's what you're then having an experience of an individual experiencing. And I would offer this is the point where I could say it can't be unseen, like David says. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And before it felt like you could fall asleep to separation again and have that experience, go, damn, why did I do that? There was still a sticky in. But I would offer at this point, okay, there's no I here that could fall asleep. There's nothing you can pin down. Nothing you could say was an I. That doesn't mean you can't have an experience of individuality. There's no I anymore. to be orientated into that mix. So it's like you can't unsee it now. Because there's no I to reconfigure, to re-experience, to say, damn, I fell asleep. There's no I to do that anymore. It's just this ocean. You're just swimming in an ocean of possibilities, pure potential to experience, but no individual experiencer. There is an individual experience. So that's why I always felt like you could stick an I in there, because it did feel like a personal experience, but it's just because we were believing in that I label. We'd identified with the experience of individuality. It's identification all the way. That's all it is. That, claiming it. So it's only ever what's been happening. Just this one thing experiencing. It seems as if it can do such a good job of experiencing that it can actually create an I for itself. It can actually have that experience of identification. That's another experience. It's just an experience it can have. As if it's sort of the last one, last one to fall. It sort of weakens and weakens, and then there's nowhere to orientate to. It's just this fluid, no separation, everything's just fluid. At the same time, having an experience of individuality, but no identity with it, no identification with it. Does anybody want to say anything? Any questions?
I don't have a question, but something to share. This week, Angela DeLuga was doing an at-home retreat. I can put a link in the
So is it an online one?
thing. It's online, yeah. There we go.
I'll send that out to everybody as well if they don't catch it. I'll put it in.
Yeah. So it's an all day, every day for Wednesday through Sunday, with meditations and talks and Q&A, poetry readings. I've done his retreats before. They're very good.
Yeah, I did one as well. I think I did a 3-day potentially. It might have been a 5-day. It's a bit tricky with the UK. I don't know about everybody else. It's a bit tricky with time zones, but I managed to fit enough in for it to be really good. It was really
I think the day starts about the same time as you're doing this here. So it would go into the night for
Yeah,
UK.
I think I used to listen at midnight in bed. Which you can, and then I would catch up because all of the recordings go online as well, don't they? So I would catch up with the recordings, pick and choose the bits that I could do, and it was beneficial. So yes, if somebody feels drawn to that, thank you for sharing, Deborah. Because it was in the journey, in the stepping stones. It was a nice stepping stone. It was, it was a lovely experience, but no one to have.
Was there anything in your experience that led to this dropping away of self? And was there even any recognition that it happened? I mean, if self is not there, who's there to notice that it's happened?
Yeah. There's just a noticing of no pin in anything. So yeah, life's just noticing it. I mean, that's all that's left now. I'm putting a label on what's left. That, okay, so even what's left, as if I'd got rid of a whole load of stuff. There was never any of that. And yet it was all of that. Because there's only ever this one thing, shaping, patterning, and having all of those experiences, never actually becoming any of them. That's the trick. We never actually become any of the experiences, any of these, but we get to experience it all. So this walking back, this stuck, this, there's never actually any individual experiencing it. Now you said, was there anything? I believe in the stepping stones, they're marinating in self. And when I read something out by Adia, it mirrored that if you, about the awareness, awareness is always there, but it doesn't do you much good until you notice, until you bring consciousness to it. So until you're conscious of it. So, we point to this awareness and and then once so there's just awareness, and this awareness is impersonal. So that's your stepping stone. It's just not to get too identified with any of the, if anything to come from today's talk is not to get identified in any of those. There's always that potential to see you're not the awareness. So there's an experience of awareness, but you're not the awareness because there is no you. There might be an experience of recognizing awareness, visiting awareness. All of that is experience without a pin. But doesn't matter if you put a pin in it. I did. I can see there was a pin in that all the way along. And I remember the point where I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I've identified as awareness. And I rang somebody else and they said, yeah, so have I. because it's sort of, we're woken up. Even we've woken up. There's a pin in that. We've woken up. Whenever we talk about it, there's a pin in it because we've woken up to the truth of we're not this. There's two positions we feel like we've got, and that's why I explained that on these 4 weeks. We feel like there's two positions. Oh, I'm having an experience of ego. Oh, I'm having an experience of waking up. There's still an I there orientating. It seems as if that gets weaker and weaker on this journey home. These stepping stones of, hang on a minute, so I'm not just a witness. I'm not avoiding this. I'm not just witnessing it like a movie. They're just the creator of the movie and the screen and everything else that's happening in the movie. Oh, hang on a minute. So there's another slight orientation, but it's less sticky because it's just you're realizing that you're so much bigger than what you thought you were. So there's less stickiness, less contractedness, less density in it. And then you get to the spaciousness and there's less density, and that's another little stepping stone. There's just this space, this ground of being, this spaciousness, this alert awake. So there's still some identification, but it's a lot less sticky, a lot more expansive, especially when we can't find a boundary of a body. Because that's sort of how this feels. When we do the exercise where we look, we can't find a boundary of the body, and you're like, hang on a minute, there's nothing there, there's no boundary. That's exactly what I'm trying to explain feels to me now. There's nothing there. You know, when that boundary, when you look and that boundary goes, can you all feel that when we do that exercise and we look, and we feel like we're in the body and we're going to go through the body and we're checking the points of the body and we realize, oh, in direct experience, there's contact points. There's not actually a body unless we use a mind to create it. So then we feel like, okay, where's the inside and the outside? Oh, actually, we can't find a boundary. At that point where you can't find a boundary, it's just as if something's gone because there's no boundary there and you thought there was. This is a bit like there's no self there. It's gone, you thought there was, and it's all gone. So it's a nothing there. There was some sort of idea of a body, and then when you look, it's not there. Some sort of idea of some sort of orientation that you're the awareness, you're the space of being, you're experiencing this, but that you're goes. You're like, ah, oh, now there's nothing apart. There's no you, there's nothing apart from you. And it's not like it was before. It's really hard to speak about because there's air. You know, they get that feeling of just air. There's just air and there's nothing to pin down to you. There's just air. It's hard to talk about something you can't put a pin in because there's nothing there to talk about. Yet it appears as all of this and you can experience all of this. So I think what it does is it helps us to have these orientation points on the walk home. So I think what's happened is the resting in being has helped the contraction to be less and less and less along those pathways. The contraction, the sense of self has got less and less and less. It's got more fluid. You know how David teaches this effortless being is this space of being and knowing and bliss. We still orientate there, don't we? We still have some orientation that this is what I am, this space of being. No, you're absolutely nothing experiencing that. That's as plain as I can say it. You're all absolutely nothing, no thing, experiencing everything. But that no thing is amazing because it can create all of this. But it's not a thing. It's no thing. Can't be pinned down, can't be talked about. And I used to go to that. I used to be able to just go to, I used to feel myself dissolving to no thing. And I couldn't talk from there. Now it's just no thing. Appearing is everything. There's no going anywhere. There's no positions anymore. There's no going anywhere. Can't go to no thing. It's just no thing. No thing and everything at the same time. Field of potential, possibility. No thing, everything. Absolutely everything's here. Everything we've ever looked for is already here. So I think it was just the walk home and the steps that everybody points to, the spaciousness and just marinating in there, just is a dissolving process until the poof. You know, there's that feeling that, oh, I can be more, I'm going to be more present. You see where there's an identity in that. Somebody that's going to be more present. I know there's an experience of it. Absolutely, I've experienced it. I'm going to sit here and be present. There's an experience, but it's only because we identify with it that it becomes something that we've got to do. It's already here because we go to it. there's an experience of going to it, so it's there, we find it, but actually we didn't need to stick a pin in something that went to go and get it because it's already here. But it doesn't matter if you do, because it's just an experience that this can have. None of it is wrong. No right or wrong. It is just this, dancing, experiencing. I was just asking myself the question, okay, so why does life wake itself up then? Why would, and it doesn't, it's just an experience. It's just an experience it can have. It doesn't wake up to itself. It's always crystal clear, pure. It's already whole and complete, already there. It's just an experience it can have. Just the way it can shape and pattern and play. And the recording, just so it doesn't get too long. And